What is up, Bucks fans? Creamsicle curse continues as the Bucks fall to the Falcons, 31-26. There's a lot to say about this game. Welcome to the Pirate Parlay Podcast. I'm your host, JC Allen, here on the Sick Podcast Network. Man, tough loss for the Bucks. Doesn't get easier from here with two tough games on the horizon. We'll get into why the Bucks lost, what they can do to turn it around, and what this means for their season after the break.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucks are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back to the Pirate Parlay Podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen, presented by FanGo Tickets, our post-game recap show. Where to begin? Where to start? Not good. Not good at all for the Buccaneers. They made a valiant effort to come back at the end, but just a little too late. Much like last week, little too late. At least they didn't lose a key starter in the process. But for the second straight week in a row and continuing the trend, the Bucs came out hot. They came out, with a fast start, won the coin toss, elected to receive, went down the field, scored a touchdown, and things were looking good. Positivity was in the air. Next drive, you let up a touchdown to Kyle Pitts after the touchdown to Cade Otton, National Tight End Day, by the way. So both of those guys getting on the board. And then you get the ball back and you bleed the clock on a 97-play drive. And you go up 14-7. And you're thinking, okay, Bucks are going to be good. No Chris, no Mike. They might be good. But it didn't last long. Next drive later, Kyle Pitts gets his second touchdown of the game, a 49-yard pass, tied up, and then it just kind of unraveled from there. The Bucks go into halftime down by 4, down by a touchdown after another Darnell Mooney. That's 3 touchdown passes of 30 yards or more in consecutive drives for the Falcons, topped off by a Younghoe Koo field goal to put them ahead. Chase McLaughlin gets a field goal in between there as well. But, before you know it, you're looking at halftime and you're down again. Wasn't quite the second quarter collapse that the Bucs have had in recent games, but still wasn't good. You let up 17 points in the second quarter like you did last week. Unlike last week, you didn't really let the team pull away. But still, things are unraveling fast here for this Bucs. And really the issues are on the defense. Now, the defense gave up 6 explosive plays in the air, 20 yards or more. They have no clue how to contain Kirk Cousins, how to stop him, making him look like an MVP. Last week, he had 2 interceptions, 100 and some odd yards, and almost threw 2 other ones. Here, they let him have a clean game. No interceptions, barely get any pressure on him. Got 2 late sacks on him by CJ Brewer. Shout out CJ Brewer. CJ Brewer also had another big run stuff too. But Cousins goes 23 of 29 for 276 and 4 touchdowns. 145.9 passer rating. Bucs have no answers for him. No answers whatsoever. It wasn't the same performance as week 5 where he put up 500 yards on him. But still, you're letting the guy throw 4 touchdowns. And then you let him run a Kirk Cousins, a 13-yard scramble to make it 3rd and 1 late in the game. It's not good. Not good. The Bucs have to figure out what's going on in defense. And part of the problem here is, they're not getting enough pressure. And you're playing zone coverage. You're not getting pressure. And Kirk is just, and these quarterbacks are just being able to get to their first, second, third, fourth read. Bijan Robinson's touchdown pass, wide open. You could see it. They're rushing 4, can't get any pressure. Bijan just sneaks out of the backfield because they're expecting pressure. So Bijan's in to block. He sneaks out of the backfield, runs in for the 6-yard touchdown, untouched. They can't cover the deep ball. Can't cover the middle of the field. And the middle of the field wasn't nearly as bad. They still had some struggles in between the numbers, but the deep ball was a big issue. And then when they kind of finally turn it on, it's too little, too late. You know, big goal lines, big stance towards the end. But again, it's too little, too late at that point. You get the fumble safety. It gives you 2 points. You know, you're looking like, okay, we get the ball back. What can we do here? And he's thrown an interception. Baker had 2 interceptions. The worst part about those interceptions was they happened inside the 20-yard line, inside the 10-yard line. One of the 6 and one of the 8. You throw those drives don't end with interceptions. If those drives just end with field goals, you win this game. If those 2 drives that ended on interceptions end in field goals, you win this game. You win 32-31. You know? Instead, you're down, you're trailing, trying to rally back, not enough time on the clock. And time management, maybe. You know, you take those timeouts before the 2-minute warning, and you probably have an extra 8 to 10 seconds left. That's enough to get another play or 2 off. Again, so Bulls time management comes into play. Again. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know where to start with this game. I really don't. You know, and I was one of the ones that thought the Bucs could pull this out. The good news is the offense looked okay. It didn't look terrible. There were times that it wasn't great. Obviously, the 2 interceptions, but those are on bake. Those are squarely on bake. The offensive line looked phenomenal. Obviously, Wirfs had a false start. I think he had 2 false starts on the game, which is really uncharacteristically of Wirfs. But the offensive line has looked great. The running game, again, for the 6th straight week, over 100 yards. You know, you total 102 yards on the ground. Not the 160 you put on them in week 5, but still, you're moving the ball on the ground. But once you're down, you know, a touchdown, you get down a touchdown, and now you're down 31-17. You can't run the ball. You have to pass the ball a little bit more. And again, you have no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. You need someone to step up, and Cade Otton did that today. 9 receptions, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns, career high in receptions, career high. Matches a career high in touchdowns. Raheem Jarrett. Everyone's talking about who's going to step up. Shepard, Palmer, and McMillan. It's Raheem Jarrett. 3 for 3, 58 yards, and a 20-yard and a 19-yard completion. Raheem Jarrett's the one that stepped up. Then Rachaad White gets in the end zone. 5 of 6, 38 yards. Bucky 7 of 7, 40 yards. Then you go down to McMillan. You know, one of the interceptions, Baker was targeting him. That's not on McMillan like the first one was when it bounced off his hands. But 4 of 7, 35 yards. You know, he had the 11-yard end around, 17-yard end around. Trey Palmer, 2 of 2 for 29. Sterling Shepard, 3 of 5 for 18. Those guys didn't do anything. Ryan Miller looked better than Sterling Shepard. But the good news is the Bucs still scored 26 points. Now, 2 of those come on the safety, so 24 points. But still, 26 points is what they averaged with Mike and Chris in. So, again, Liam Cohen, he had some head scratchers there on a few of those plays, but every OC is going to. But a good showing. Your first game without your 2 biggest playmakers, you're going to get Mike back. You know, you're 9 for 14 on 3rd down, so it's not like you're terrible on 3rd down. You know, and that's what we call him. You know, third and Godwin for a reason. Because that's what he does, you know. He's a 3rd down monster, you know. He finished with 432 yards total offense, outscoring the Falcons. So the offense, you know, while there's issues to be had there, I think the issues really to be had there are with Baker Mayfield. Now, again, 2 interceptions in the red zone or close to the red zone. Interceptions landing in the red zone. Last week he had one too. 37 of 50, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Stick out like a sore thumb. especially when, again, if those interceptions don't even turn into touchdowns in that area, 2 field goals, you win this game. You win. Baker's got to figure it out. He's trying to do too much, and that's, you look at the first 4 games, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Look at these last, 4 games, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. It's not good. And the running game was off to a hot start. That first quarter, they had 61 yards on the ground. 61 yards on the ground. Baker wasn't sacked the whole game. There's no negative yardage other than, Tavier Thomas's big punt, whatever that was. We'll get into that. But, you don't take any negative yardage from your running backs. So you finished with 102. You had 61. 40 yards. That's it. 41 yards is all you can muster for the rest of the game after the first quarter. That's something. And I get you get down, so you got to get away from the run. But, man, there is so many things wrong with this defense that it doesn't even matter at this point. That last drive, the Bucs gave them 5 minutes. 6 minutes and 52 seconds, the Bucs were in possession. Or 5 minutes and 12 seconds, the Bucs were in possession of that. 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Defense had some time to get their head together, knowing they're going to run the ball because they're trying to run that clock out, and maybe a pass here or there just to kind of move them down the field a little bit, and couldn't stop anything. You can't stop Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, who came into this game with negative yards. Negative yards rushing for Kirk Cousins. You let up a 13-yard scramble to set up 3rd and 1. You get the stop on 3rd and 1. But on 4th and 1, everyone could see that Kirk Cousins was going to sneak that. His stance alone should give it away. And the linebackers are what? Playing like they're about to pass it? No, you crowd the line. They're not even a tush push. He just gets in with a normal QB sneak. I don't know. There's not a lot of words for what's going on with this defense. Not a lot of words. And I see all the fire Bowles. They're not going to fire Bowles. Unless they go in a massive collapse, they're not going to fire him. But defense needs to get their head out of their butt. That's for damn sure. There's no other way to put it, They got nobody else, though. That's the problem. Levante David's come off the field 3 or 4 times this year already. Yaya Diaby, it's like every game occurrence he's coming off the field with an injury or banged up. JJ Russell came in for Levante for a series. That didn't look much better. And Light's not going to give up picks. Light's not going to give up picks to bring in reinforcements. They're going to roll it out like it is. So they got to figure it out internally. They have to. There's no other way. There's no other way. Todd Bowles in his post-game presser said, problems aren't in the locker room, but the answer's in the locker room. Comes down to the players, coaches, and staff. Again, you guys know what he's going to say. Players got to play it better. We got to coach it better. That's true. True. You also said 26 points should be enough to win a football game. And if this defense was playing like they normally do, it should. But we haven't seen them in 4 weeks. I don't know. I don't know what to say, because this game, it felt like the Bucs should have won this game. After that Rashad White touchdown, the 18-yard swing pass that he took, it felt like the Bucs should have won this game. But then you allow a 49-yard touchdown pass to Kyle Pitts and a 30-yard touchdown to Darryl Mooney. They pulled Tyreek Funderburk, put in Josh Hayes. It wasn't much better. It really wasn't. You're letting up explosive plays. A 49-yard touchdown play and a 30-yard touchdown play after you take the lead. What are you doing? Communication, right? Oh, it's communication. We got to communicate better out there. Todd Bowles says that says it's a lack of concentration that's leading to these explosive plays. So that they're day one things that they should know that they're installing. Says the Buccaneers defense has to play better. Coach got to coach it better. Of course, we've heard that all season. Whenever it's a bad game, or whenever this is at, or whatever this is at, the players got to play it better. We got to coach it better. Players have to play it better. I mean, crap. I mean, at this point, you're better off giving Ryan Neal a call. That's what we're looking at. Jordan Whitehead has made some good plays, but then Jordan Whitehead, you're like, what are you doing? Where's the KJ Britt from the Lions game last year? Where's that guy been? Christian Isian, he picked up a penalty earlier for, illegal hands or whatever like that. But, I mean, he was probably one of your best defenders today. Flying to the ball, making plays, flying in the backfield, causing, getting Algier a little nervous for that and that bobbled, handoff. Making a big stop that would have went for a huge gain. Making some big tackles. Second in the team in tackles today, filling in for Tyke Smith with 9. Bijan Robinson's a hell of a back too. Like, you can't take anything away from him. He's a really explosive back. He's dynamic. He's quick with his feet. He broke Zion's ankles. Broke a few ankles out there. Had a touchdown that was called back. But the defense is what you're looking at. That front 7. What are you doing, guys? What are you doing? Because I'll tell you what, that offensive line isn't that great. When Chris Lindstrom goes out, you're telling me you can't get enough pressure on Kirk Cousins? With Vita Vea, Kalijah Kancey can't get pressure up the middle against the starting center who was banged up and on the injury report all week with a knee, and a backup guard? What are you doing? Yaya Diaby, where's your 10-sack season? JTS, I thought you were kind of trying to break out, right? You're in a contract here. Just going to let that go by you? Again, like, you're leading sackers right now. Leading the league in sacks is a linebacker, Levante David, an aging linebacker, Vita Vea and Logan Hall, all tied with 3. Guess what? CJ Brewer just jumped up to tied for second place with Yaya Diaby and Anthony Nelson with 2 in one game. The outside linebackers, you've got 5 sacks on the season. 5.5. Sorry, Chris Braswell, with your half sack. 5.5 sacks on the season from your linebackers. $10 from your defensive linemen. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. It's just not. Mr. Determined says we stopped getting to the run or throw to Otten in the second half. Why? They took it away. Make you go somewhere else. Of course they are. They continue to let Otten beat you. No, they took it away. That's what teams do. The fake punt. You guys want to talk? Are you ready to talk about that? What are you doing? First of all, this team doesn't run fake punts. Bull said we got a good look earlier. When we were going to run it earlier, we had a good look. We didn't have a good look this time. Trenton Gill, 29-yard punt. They cut Camarda for this guy? At least Camarda's got a track record. He's the best punter in Bucs history. He's got a track record. Trenton Gill? What are we doing? The fake punt was just bizarre. What are we doing there? You're giving them a free field goal. At the very least. The very least, you're giving them a free field goal. You didn't, though. You gave him a touchdown. Turnover on downs, gave him a touchdown. A 6-yarder to Bijan Robinson. And if you punt that ball, you're probably looking at something different. Because the 2 possessions before them were punts. Punt, touchdown off that fake punt, fumble safety, missed field goal. Talking about maybe a different game. I don't know. There needs to be adjustments all over the place. Like, they got to figure this out. Caviar here, you outside linebackers can't get sacks because they're always being dropped back into coverage. I mean, they'll get plenty of opportunities, man. They get plenty of opportunities. They are asked to drop in coverage, probably more than any other defensive scheme asks their outside linebackers to drop in coverage. But again, they're running zone too because they don't have the guys for man. But the problem with zone is if you can't get coverage, then you give these guys all day and you're playing zone. You're not manned up. And you're playing good receivers that can find the soft spot in the zone, and you got a good quarterback that can get through his reads, he's going to find the open guy in zone. That front seven needs to get there, not just the defensive tackles. Those outside linebackers, they're not dropping both outside linebackers in coverage every play. You're sending three defensive linemen. You're sending Vita Vea, Logan Hall, who's been really good. Can't take away his sacks and his pressures and his tackles this season as much as you might want to if you're a hater. Elijah Cansey. And let's say you're sending JTS. Someone should be able to at least get some pressure. I'm not talking about sacks right now, Javier. I'm talking about pressure. Get pressure on him. Don't let him get to his third read where he's finding it and he's found the open spot in his zone, and now you're getting a big catch. Like, something's got to happen. Let's get back up into these comments here. Bucks Basement says, JC, it's time to start the Fire Bowles articles because it's just atrocious. The problem with the defense is Todd Bowles' horrendous scheme. I don't know if that's the case. Again, I don't think it's time to fire Todd Bowles, and they're certainly not going to do it midseason. But Bowles' defense does ask a lot. It asks a lot of his players. And there's a lot of young players here. And there's a lot of new pieces here. And there's a lot of guys who are down to injury who are going to step up. It might be time to simplify it. You know? And I understand why they didn't want to blitz Kirk Cousins a lot because Cousins is really good at the blitz. But, like, you got to figure something out. If you can get pressure with base, like, you got to get something. Something's got to happen. Bill says Atlanta is not that good. If they let this Bucks team hang in there without Mike and Chris and Godwin, yeah, Bucks are right there. Again, clock management, they have an extra 10 seconds left. We don't know what that looks like. You take those timeouts before the 2-minute warning. We don't know what it looks like. But without Mike and Chris, again, average 26 point something. I'll get the exact point decimal for you guys because I know you want it. 26.4 games with Mike and Chris. In their first game without Mike and Chris, 26 points. Bucks defense allowed 26 points with Mike and Chris without 31. Not that that has any direct correlation, but gotta figure it out. What are you doing on defense? You gotta figure it out. If offense is gonna move the ball, if they're gonna move the ball without the two best playmakers on their team, potentially, no, forget potentially, the two best wide receivers in team history, and they're still going to move the ball and get 24 points, 2 with the safety, you got to figure something out on defense. Kirk Cousins was held to 14 points, two turnovers, and then two turnover-worthy plays last week. That's 7 interceptions, 14 turnover-worthy throws. You can't get one of them? No? Not one? It's not good. Bucks Basement says, I want Salah as defensive coordinator. None of that's happening right now, so I'm not going to get into the fireballs. You guys can rant and vent. Bill Berger says the linebacker position is killing them. You know? Killing this team, and Baker's killing this team with red zone interceptions. Again, they got no answer. Levante is not Levante. He's not the same guy. He's more effective. He's more effective filling the gaps, coming in as a blitzer, being a run stuffer. He's not terrible in coverage. I'm not taking it, but he's not the Levante David of 2-3 years ago who you can ask to go man up on Travis Kelce and take him out of the game first half. It's not that guy. I gotta figure something out. Baker can't. He leads the league in interceptions now. Leads the league in interceptions. Again, I'll take 2 of those off. One of them tipped off Jalen McMillan's hand. The other one bad at the line, and even that probably shouldn't be taken off because you got to get the ball up higher. But I'll take it. I'll take those off. 7 interceptions still. Can't win when you're turning over the ball, especially as Berger alluded to. Can't win if you're turning the ball in the red zone. Javier says Baker missed McMillan twice for touchdowns. Once he was literally wide open and Baker threw it behind him. Another thing, missed throws, missed opportunities. You had Sterling Shepard. There was one play there where it just looked like a miscommunication between Baker and McMillan. Maybe Baker wanted McMillan to do one thing and McMillan did the other thing. That could have been on McMillan. It wasn't an interception, but it would have been a touchdown. There was nobody in front of McMillan. You got to have that feel. McMillan doesn't have that feel yet, Go to the Buick. Backyard football style, He's a very precise route runner. Maybe too precise. Who knows? But, then it just goes last week. You had that red zone interception. Bucky was right there. Could have hit him for a touchdown. Decision-making. Got to be faster. Got to be quicker. Got to make the right read. Thanks for not yelling like the Buccaneers post-game show. If we end up with a high pick because of how the season goes, do we consider a QB? Love Mayfield, love the heart. It's such a volatile start up and down. Let's not end of the world this. I told you we were going to talk about the season. We're not ending the world this because they've got 2 tough games, right? They're 4-6 right now. If they lose those, they go to 4-8. No, 4-6. No, what the hell am I talking about? They're 4 what are this? I'm out of it. They're 4-3 right now. Jeez, they're 4-3 right now. If they lose the next 2 games, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Oh, shit. I am all over the place right now. Whatever. But if they lose the next 2, 4-4. There we go. Thank you, somebody. They're 4-4 right now. If they lose 2 games, they're 4-6. But then they have a really easy schedule coming out the break. Really easy schedule. And this is the Bucs type of team that will lose like this, frustratingly, to the Falcons, where you probably could have won if you didn't make certain mistakes. And they go out and beat the Chiefs, or they go out and beat the 49ers for some weird reason. And you're like, where did that come from? Like Jameis Winston and the Browns beating the Ravens today. Eating W's. So I think you're fine though. I had the Bucs at 5-5. They're 4-6, tomato, and I'm finishing 11-5. Knock that down to 10-6. Even 9-5 could get you into the playoffs, or not 9-5, 9-7, 9-8. I'm not mouthing really well today, guys. It can get you in the playoffs. 10-7, 11-6 get you in. Obviously, 10-7, 9-8 might get you in. NFC is still trying to figure itself out. You could get in as a wild card. The loss is damning because now if you are in a tiebreaker for whatever reason with the Falcons, you lose that. They win the South. That's the part that sucks. You have a head-to-head with them, you lose. You get nothing. Good day, sir. Bryce can we at least acknowledge the good on how this team looked despite decisions? Tell me you watched that game and seen no more wins all year. I said that. I think the offense is good. I think the offense looked good. Defense is what needs to figure it out. Second straight week, defense. Third straight week, Saints. Defense needs to figure it out. I know they pitched a second shutout in the second half of the Saints, but still, you got to figure it out. It seems like a trend, right? First quarter, they're fine, or they're coming out good, or they got a lead. Second quarter comes, and it kind of just slips away. Something happens, like a switch is turned off, and they start to really struggle in the second quarter. Every last couple of games. I don't know. We'll get some of those comments. Chris Cole says the season is on the verge of being over. I don't think so. They didn't allow that one Pitts touchdown. It was handed. That's another thing too. That Pitts touchdown, man. What are we doing? It's 2024. I went into Hobby Lobby the other day. My wife needed me to go there for something. I didn't bring my wallet. I was just going right to the street. I actually wasn't even going there. She asked me to go there. She's like, can you go to Hobby Lobby, pick me up something? I'm like, yeah, sure. I go to pay with Apple Pay. They're like, oh, we don't take Apple Pay. In 2024, who doesn't take Apple Pay or Google Pay or whatever the pay you want to do with your phone or your card tap? You don't take that? It's 2024. What are we doing without pylon cameras in 2024? Someone tell me. Don't tell me you can't afford it. Like, that was a fumble. I'll die on that hill. Antoine Winfield Jr. did it again. You got to get pylon cameras. You got to get someone there. Like, what are we doing? You're not going to have pylon cameras. At least have 2 cameramen stationed on the pylons. What are we doing here? This preschool. Mickey Mouse. That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Chris Cole, Bulls need to dumb the defensive down. I maybe that's what they need to do. Maybe that's what they need to do. It's a very complex, complicated system. Maybe he needs to bring it down a little bit. But again, I mean, if it's the communication part, and it's day one install stuff, then that's on players too. Like, a lot of people like to pile on Bowles, and I'm not defending Bowles because I thought he called a pretty bad game too. But like, gotta remember, the players got to go out there and play. Like, you got to know your assignments in week 8, bruh. It's week 8. And it's not like you didn't just play this team 2 weeks ago and know what they're going to try to do. Know all their playmakers. Know their strengths and weaknesses. As a player, you got to play. Like, you can't do that. I don't care what Bowles is calling. You got to play better. Especially when they start doing what you know they're going to do to you. You can't adjust. What are we doing? What are we doing? G Vegas says, I'm sorry, but a defensive-minded coach, regardless if it's a DC or head coach, cannot allow 30 points in the league. They can't. You can't. If your specialty is defense, allowing 31 points to the same team that you just played 2 weeks ago, can't do that. You can't. And again, players play, coaches coach. But if this was your game plan, what are we doing? It's hard to criticize because you look at like Bowles' game plan against the Lions, Bowles' game plan against the Chiefs, and like, can you really be like, oh, this is all Bowles, all his game plan? The players have to have a really large responsibility for this too, not just Bowles. We can't see Bowles drum up brilliant defensive game plans and just be like, well, you just took the week off on this one. Again, maybe not his best, but players got to play. Loveall says, at least give the ball to Tucker, not number 37 Thomas on the fake punt, right? And I see a lot of people like, why isn't Tucker playing? Why isn't Tucker playing? Why isn't Tucker playing? Tucker's pass pro's not up to par. Like, that's just it. If you want to go hurry up or you need to like audible, you're going to keep the same personnel grouping in for a series of play. Like, his pass pro is just not, you can come in and like obviously running downs or where he's going to be featured in the pass pro game. So this determined said this game was just a wash, disheartening. They need to figure out this defense. Everyone's got to step up if we're going to win any more games, especially the coaching. Rashad with the Bulls got to go. What about the defensive line rotations? What team rotates their starting defensive line with its backups every other play? Try to keep the guys fresh. They're going to run it, try to keep the guys fresh. And the Bucs have a deep defensive line. CJ Brewer just showed 2 tackles, 2 sacks this game. Will Golston's still doing his thing. Old man Golston. You keep the guys fresh, keep Vita fresh, keep Kalajic fresh. Kalaj is just a week away, a week off of playing with an injury, 2 weeks off. So, but again, fake punt was crazy. I agree. Sal says, no pass rusher whatsoever. Terrible turnovers. Go get Myles Garrett because it's just saying it. Not happening. Maybe a Josh Uche, but he hasn't done much either. I think he's got 2 sacks on the season. I liked him. I thought he'd be a good fit. But again, so Josh Uche's coming. You're getting rid of Jose Ramirez or something like that. And who bumps out of that rotation? He's not a game changer. He's just a depth edge rusher. There's really nobody out there. I've looked. There's nobody out there. And again, it doesn't look like you need wide receiver help. Sure, you could use a guy, but you don't need to go pay exuberant amount of money for a wide receiver. It's the defense, linebacker, edge rusher. There's no top of the market guys right now on the market. So, like you said, where was I? Like you said, if we only get field goals off Mayfield's turnovers at 6 points, then we win. Like I said, I love Mayfield and his grit, but it's tough to win as well when you have a volatile starter. His roller coaster ride is, it's up and down. I think Josh Cabo said his oscillating fan is high and low. Like it's like one day you're over here, the next day you're over here, the next day you're over here. It's like ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough. And then it brings you back up. It's roller coaster. He's got to get better too. Baker's got to get better, especially when you have an offensive line blocking for you like that. And I'll give some grace. I'll give a little bit of grace. That one on AJ Terrell, like he just baited you in. Without knowing what the wide receiver's responsibilities were to be, in this game, I mean the Jesse Bates was pretty bad too. Not gonna lie, both of those picks were really bad. But he's still learning these guys as number one wide receivers, So he hasn't thrown to Raheem Jarrett really in a game all that much. So I'll give him a little bit of grace as far as okay, let's see what you do when you have a full week, not a short week of preparation with these wide receivers. But you gotta show out. You gotta do much better. Chiefs defense is no joke. Chris Jones is no joke. We need a stud pass rusher. Not going to happen this offseason. Not during the season. Maybe in the offseason they might. Turnovers, period. It's 4-4. Thank you. I was struggling there. I was really struggling. It's clear bowl scheme is flawed in some way. Maybe too much communication is the problem. Turnovers and bad play cost us big punts and the flea flicker was ugly. That was probably Cohen's worst play of the season. Definitely the worst play of the game. There's no need for that. No need for that stuff. Just keep doing what you're doing. No way you can let Kirk run for all those yards. No, that was crazy. We have a lot of football on the field. No pressure on the defensive line. We need a inside linebacker. Britt ain't it, guys. Again, it's going to be tough to make moves. There's really not many players available. Bucs only have 10.5 cap space. Some of that has to go towards operating costs. They can restructure a little bit if they want to. But there's really not much out there. No one's giving good coverage linebackers away. Nobody is. Everyone's like, oh, you need a coverage linebacker? I got one for you. Even the bad teams. It's just not happening. No one's giving up premier pass rushers for, a third round pick. It's not happening. You're not going to get a wide receiver either. You can try to get a younger guy in there. Maybe they'll mess around and practice with that. Give JJ Russell a little bit of snaps. Maybe they'll give Antonio Greer some snaps in Britt's place in practice. Maybe Kalen DeLoach. He's got some speed. Maybe not the size. We'll see. We'll see. But they got to figure something out because you can't keep having these defensive issues, not fixing them, especially if your offense is going to give you some adequate level of play, which they did today. Kyrie says, guys can't get in the rhythm with those defensive rotations. And who says our D-line is deep? The backups are not good enough to rotate the D-line that often. Play younger guys. Let's hope we can get a wild card spot at this point. The whole NFC North is trying to get into the playoffs. Oh, and let's hope the defense magically turns it around. Offense will do their thing. Just need Mayfield to chill with these picks. I agree. I think things will settle down. Maybe not next week when Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked like Patrick Mahomes this season. And Bowles, for all intents and purposes, knows how to scheme up a pretty good game plan to kind of limit them. We'll see if you can do the same thing. And then the 49ers, again, they almost beat the 49ers last year, and they had George Kittle, and they had Brandon Ayuk, and they had CMC, and they had Deebo Samuel. Now they don't have Brandon Ayuk. Got a couple other pieces, but we'll see. I'm looking at both of those as losses, but close losses to me are wins. You can stay in it with both of those games. Those are wins. And that's the thing, too. You look at the Bucs losses outside that Broncos loss, and the Broncos are cooking a little bit. You look at those the losses have all been fairly close. Haven't got blown out. They weren't blown out Again, besides the Broncos, they weren't blown out by the Ravens. Mounted that comeback, lost by 10 points. No, they weren't blown out by the Falcons either. Loss. One went into overtime. One ended on a Hail Mary. So we'll see. Definitely tons of blame to be put around on Bowles, on the defensive coaches in general, the whole staff, on the defensive players, on Baker. Still threw for 330 and 3 touchdowns, but those 2 picks were costly. Again, those 2 picks turn into field goals, and you're winning this game. Offensive line played stellar. Kate Otten played stellar. Raheem Jarrett, after going under surgery in the beginning of the year, coming back and playing his first game on IR since last year, stellar. Bucky Irving, as always, stellar. Rashad White looked good. That tandem right there with Bucky and Rashad is gonna carry these guys pretty far. Thought Izzy looked really good. Winfield with the hero play that should have counted, but the NFL's too cheap to get sideline cameras. CJ Brewer, everyone just give some flowers to CJ Brewer. Drop some flowers, drop some claps. Like CJ Brewer, former XFL guy, comes in with 2 sacks and a big 3rd down stop. Like, kudos to CJ Brewer. But that's what it's going to be. We knew that these years were going to be like, all right, we knew last year was a Brady year, paying for his bill. Knew this year was, oh crap, we've got everyone to resign. Antoine, Mike, Levante. We got to do contract extensions for Tristan. We got a Baker we got to sign if we want. So like a lot of money was tied up in this year. Again, if you think about it, Bowles really hasn't had a free agency to play with some money, and that's usually a good thing because it means that your team hasn't been a dumper. So you're not, I can say shit show. We're not monetized yet. A shit show where, so, I mean, it's kind of a good thing, but at the same time, like, Bredesen's been playing great as a value signing. Jordan Whitehead has been a little up and down the last few games, for the most part, solid as a value signing. They haven't been able to go out and make a splash outside organization signing. And I know they'll say, there's usually a reason why some of these guys make it to the market. Sometimes it's just the team doesn't want to pay them. It's just simple as that. So maybe they can make a move this year, although they do have a lot of cap space eaten up between Shaq Barrett and Ryan Jensen, who they pushed that money into next season. Depending on how big this salary cap jumps up, I would say they definitely need to get an edge rusher in here. I don't think they're going to have a high draft pick, if they don't make the playoffs, it's going to be like right outside the playoffs, 18, 17, something like that, and they're not going to trade up a bunch of picks to try to move up either. Just not in their MO, not the way they're building this franchise. But yeah, little event session. I completely forgot to shout out my sponsors in between there. So we're going to do a sponsor push right now before we wrap this up. So stick around for my final thoughts. First up, Fango. They are the title sponsors here of the post-game show. We just gave away tickets to the Creamsicle game this weekend. We'll be giving away more tickets, so definitely stay tuned for that. But they're your number one source for live events in Tampa Bay. Hockey, football, music, whatever. And they're doing some awesome things. If you're tired of getting blitzed by these big ticket companies, these hidden fees, you got to turn over to Fango for your exclusive, locally owned and operated Tampa Bay Lightning, Tampa Bay ticket partner that offers fans like you full transparency. They prioritize fair pricing and no hidden fees so that Tampa fans can enjoy events without unexpected costs. Visit vango.com for unbeatable prices, personalized seat selection, and local partnerships that will take your game day to the next level. They're working on so many cool things behind the scenes, and you know exactly what you're getting. They have how much the tickets cost, how much the taxes are, and how much they're making. Not like some of these other tickets who roll their hidden fees into the ticket prices. Fango's completely transparent, and they're locally owned, especially after the hurricane and everything like that. It's important to support locally owned business. Bucs Cruise, another one you guys got to check out. Again, deadline's coming, December 11th. You've got a month and a couple days. Perfect for a Christmas gift if you want to go on the Bucs Cruise to your significant other or to your children or to your parents. It's so much fun. It's going to be taking off set and sail this year from March 7th to the 10th out of Fort Lauderdale to Key West and Bimini, Bahamas. So many awesome players will be on there. Current and alumni: Jordan Whitehead, Brad Johnson, Trey Palmer, Mike Allstott, Derek Brooks, Yaya Diaby, Kalijah Cansey, Graham Barton, Luke Gedeke, Jamel Dean, so many more. So much awesome things going on there. So many events that they do, including a sailaway party, trivia contest, cocktail party, bingo, player panels, a water volleyball competition, theme parties, and so much more that keep the fun going all cruise long. You guys don't want to miss out on this awesome opportunity to celebrate with Bucs fans from all across the country and your favorite players from then and now. Jimmy Giles will be on there, I think. Batman Woods will be on there, I think. Speaking of Creamsicle Week, so definitely check that out. December 11th is the last day you can purchase your tickets, so get on that now. We'll be doing this promo for another month. Tell them I sent you. Maybe you get a good deal. But definitely check out Bucs Cruise if you haven't. And then finally, our partners over at Mosley Heating and Air. When Florida heat hits hard, trust Mosley Heating and Air to keep you cool and comfortable. With over 25 years of experience, their family-owned business knows what it takes to keep your home HVAC system running smoothly. Need a repair, new system, or a maintenance plan? They've got you covered. Call Mosley Heating and Air today at 813-230-3742 or visit mosleyheatingandair.com. Mosley Heating and Air, where comfort meets reliability. So that's going to do it for us here over at the Pirate Parlay podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, JC Allen. Tune over to Bucs Game Day over on Sports Illustrated because we're going to have tons of content coming up from this week, and then also previewing the Kansas City Chiefs coming to on that Monday Night Football game next week. We get our Sundays back. Perfect time of the year for honey-do lists or whatever your wife wants you to do. Get some good graces in before the bye week. But that's going to do it here for me. I'll be back probably Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. Figure it out. Playing it by ear. My son actually made the championship game, so I got at least one more week of football left. So he plays that on Saturday. And then perfect timing for a Monday night game. My daughter goes to regionals for her cheer competition. She had a cheer competition today, like a practice, jamboree, whatever. They play second place. So they finished 0.2 points away. So a couple tweaks and fixes, and hopefully looking at a first place finish next week. So proud dad moment. I'll just say that. My son came up with a huge third down stop. They were marching their way down the field. So it was a proud dad moment there. But that's going to do it for me here at Pirate Parlay Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen. Peace out, guys. See you later.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.